Let's freaking go, Arkansas fans. Every Monday at 5, I will go live because you guys show me more love on my videos. And if you don't like Monday, we can actually push it potentially to Tuesday. I want to be here for you. And I feel like being an open book and doing live shows where you can ask me anything. Obviously, most of you know me as the film guy, but honestly, as much as I love doing film studies, I love people. I love getting to hang out, chat everything Arkansas, chat everything SEC. We could talk about UAPB. I think it is a little too early to do that. I know a lot of us are looking forward to Oklahoma State. I've had friends play for Oklahoma State. I've had friends play for Arkansas. I'm looking forward to that game as well. But the simple truth is this: there was a scrimmage over the weekend, and there was much discussion about some key players that weren't there. So we'll get into that in just a moment. I want to start with something that is relatively interesting. The preseason SEC props are out for passing yards. All right. And I want you to notice they did not list Garrett Nussmeier, weirdly. And it's weird because it's, a Baton Rouge station. But shout out 1045. Carson Beck, 3250. You got to go all the way down here. Taylen Green is a full 1,200 passing yards below Carson Beck on this total. All right. He has the lowest passing yard total of all the SEC starters. And I'm already looking at some of these. There are some overs I like. There are some unders that I like as well. But, for me, I could see Taylen Green being a solid quarterback and actually still hitting this under. I feel as if this is a player that could be in a spot where, you can look at him and say, you know what, he's not putting up ridiculous numbers, but he's also not turning the football over, and he's extending plays with his legs. Okay. What's up, Woo Pig? Let's go. Oliver and the crew. Love them. One of my favorite live Arkansas shows out there. We got to get Oliver and then the crew back on here. I want the whole crew on here. I keep going back to this with Taylen Green. Last year, and I know that I take some heat for my KJ Jefferson love. And I know a lot of you have shared your disdain with how everything went down, with KJ last year. Some of you have pointed out like NIL discomfort and so on and so on. Whatever actually happened, I really don't care. I thought KJ Jefferson, knowing the situation that he was in, was fine, all things considered. Was he as good as he was the year before? No. Was he as good as he was the 8-4 year? No. But the play caller changed, and now he's back with the play caller that is better and more fits his needs at UCF. But what's interesting is I don't think he was necessarily bad, and he actually did play most of the action last year for Arkansas. I want you just on the top of your head to guess how many passing yards KJ Jefferson had last year. And this actually didn't shock me because he did have some stinkers. He had some bad performances. Second half versus BYU was really bad. He forced a lot of things. Ole Miss game, there were some bad misses mixed in there as well. There's also a lot of good. And the answer is KJ Jefferson actually threw for under 2,000 yards. So, it's not out of the question that Taylen Green doesn't hit this ridiculously low passing total. So, yes, it looks low. It looks disrespectful, but I feel a little bit better seeing a guy like Brock Vandagriff, who isn't a runner like Taylen Green is, be at 2,200. That's low. Blake Shapen, I also think, is very low. I actually do like that over there. I think Mississippi State's going to throw the hell out of the football. But we'll see. Connor Wigman is a guy I like on the over here as well. He's a better quarterback than a lot of these quarterbacks that are ahead of him. I could see Connor Wigman being the best quarterback in the SEC this year. That's how much I freaking love this guy. But, you know, I think Taylen Green, I really don't love him per se. I really don't. But I do believe you could be in a spot next year where he does enough for you to weasel you by and win some games that you might not have had a shot of winning. All right. And these are the actual QB stats from last year, just to give you a heads up. All right. So obviously, you're not going to see a 3,000-yard season from Taylen Green, or you might. You never know. But you'll see that KJ Jefferson, along with Peyton Thorne, were of the starters who played most of the action. They were both under 2,000, and KJ was slightly over 2,000. Excuse me. He was under Taylen Green's total. So I had that wrong. My apologies. But I still believe Taylen Green could be good. Another thing that Taylen Green going into next year has in his favor is a long leash. I do not think it, and Oliver, actually, the last time I was on a show, we talked about this. I am not so sure that Arkansas is in a spot where they want to get to Malachi Singleton quickly. They want to see what they have in Taylen Green. They're going to let him, even if he doesn't play well, I believe they're going to let him start at least the first 6 games, right? So if you're Taylen Green, you do have some comfort as your starter, right? Not all the SEC starting quarterbacks can say that. So for me, my stat projections for Taylen Green is going to look somewhat similar to that of KJ Jefferson. And I actually have him at around 2,000 passing yards and rushing yard wise, hopefully in the 500, 600 yard range. And I just think his running is really going to help Arkansas out quite a bit. One thing I would like to see him improve on, though, is throwing on the run. So last year, KJ Jefferson, he's about a 600-yard rusher a year. I would think Taylen Green's floor is 500 yards rushing if he plays for the full season. Okay. You can see KJ actually regressed as a runner last year, and some of that's play calling. Actually, a lot of it's play calling and really, really bad offensive line play. So there you go. Now, this is where I think the biggest fix for Sam Pittman next year is going to need to be. It honestly is the offensive line. I like Eric Mateos. I've met Eric before. He has some LSU lineage, and I do think he's someone that could come in and definitely help. But ultimately, Sam needs to be the one that fixes the communication, right? I think Arkansas is still going to have some issues with twists and stunts and honestly just straight up pass rushing. They were very susceptible to bull rushes. Some of that is a lack of strength and athleticism. If you're consistently getting bullied back into the QB, that's got to be better. I think Arkansas's defensive line is potentially a little undervalued in the SEC. Ball's tape does look a little bit better if you actually sit down and watch him. We know Lana Jackson's a solid player. We know Anton's a solid player. Nico Davalaire is a very solid player as well. I don't think there's anyone spectacular, but we know Lana Jackson's going to be drafted relatively high next year. I see him as a 3rd or 4th round pick. This should be a good defensive line. Xavier Sori's a linebacker that's making some noise. The number 30 from Jacksonville State, has made some noise. His name slips my mind right now. And this Arkansas secondary. One thing I would say is I've noticed Selman Bridges being a little bit more in the mix. I didn't love him as a prospect when I sat down and watched him, and I felt his spring was up and down. But, when it comes to true freshmen, I'm always a lot more lenient in your growth. Not all growth is linear. One thing to keep in mind with true freshmen in particular as well, a lot of true freshmen are young, like very, very, very young. Um, the one thing that I bring up a lot when it comes to college football, and the recruiting services should do this. I think every recruit should have to list their age because it is totally different coming into college football at 19 compared to coming in at college football at even just 18. It is a huge difference. Every study that has ever been done on this, academic or athletic, shows that the older you are compared to your peers, the better you are. So I don't know the specific ages of any of the Arkansas true freshmen. I don't. But that's why you have to really be lenient with them. Okay. And another sign of strong signal is if you are on the younger side and you are good, that means you're really good. Like, think Patrick Peterson as a true freshman at LSU. He was very young for his class. Braylon Allen of the New York Jets at Wisconsin was a true freshman star. He was 17 years old. So, with a guy like Selman Bridges, yeah, I might not have liked him a whole lot, but he could be on the younger side. He could just be getting better. I like Arkansas's defensive coaches overall. I really do. So there's some good news, regarding that. I saw Sam Pittman say, "Hey, I want to see us uh, finish drives on offense and start faster on defense." True. I think every coach can say that up to this point. As someone that scours the SEC and leans in on these scrimmage notes and stuff like that. Um, I'm reading some here. Jaden Johnson is someone that Sam Pittman has liked a lot. Malachi Singleton, he says he's pleased with Malachi Singleton. Devin Bale, the punter, has done really well. So, I don't like to dive too deep into scrimmage notes. First off, I'm always upfront. I don't go to the scrimmages. Some media does, and I'd like to go to one. But the second thing is I also think it can be very misleading. And I feel in particular football scrimmages can be very misleading. Outside of a few things, like if someone makes a ridiculous one-on-one play or something like that, sure, that's some type of signal. But football is not the best team versus your own team scrimmage representation, like basketball can be, or baseball can be, or other sports, really, because you're not fully bringing guys to the ground. All right. I've kind of started a little bit of a Braylon Russell hype train. I posted a tweet earlier today showing that kid some love. I cheer for Arkansas players in particular because I played Arkansas high school football, and I know historically Arkansas high school football recruits at the Division I Power 5 level have a really low hit rate. The few of them that actually make it to that level, they have a low hit rate. They just do. It's just what the data shows. I really cheer for Isaiah Satania. I really cheer for Shamar Easter. I cheer for Braylon Russell. And Russell has been a guy that has some pop. Okay. I've never done this for Arkansas, but this kind of does check out now, that's going through my mind. I had a great physics teacher in high school, and she was on Jeopardy. Her name was Shelly Forbes. And running back is probably the most physics-based position in everything's physics. But really, running back is all about physics. Okay. If you run really fast and you're given holes to run through, you're probably going to be successful. Okay. The quicker you move, your short area quickness helps. But the one thing that is a constant is your size, right? And historically speaking, and you can go to Power Hour LSU and find this video. All right. My initial channel. Historically, heavier running backs succeed at a higher rate. Now, I'm not saying they all succeed, but let's just take someone like Darren McFadden. He actually was on the lighter side as a prospect, but if you actually look at Darren McFadden, the dude is a unit. He was an actual athletic marvel, right? He didn't really look 195 or low 200s. He played like he was 210, 215. But you really go down the list of like the great Arkansas running backs. They're units, man. Alex Collins, Jonathan Williams, Broderick Green, Peyton Hillis. Now, Felix Jones was on the smaller side, but he played alongside two other great backs, and he was great. Arkansas's had some good smaller backs. You saw Raleigh Williams, right? He was on the smaller side, but he put on weight. If you come in at 253, you're ready to go. Now, I do think it's probably a little too heavy. You're not going to have that high-end speed. But, man, I love me some Braylon Russell. I really, really, really do. Just because he gives you something different. Now, where do I think his ceiling is? I think his absolute best ceiling, I don't think he'll ever get to like a Peyton Hillis, like all-time great level player. I do think, though, like someone like a Broderick Green or a Nile Davis, a Michael Smith, if you will, is in the cards for him. I think his floor is pretty high if he stays healthy and keeps doing what he's doing. Because I've seen some guys in practice fly off of him. I really have. So if you are Braylon Russell, know that you have a fan in me. Now, I will also say I am not the biggest fan. Well, I love Benton. I really do. But the Benton Panthers were like some of my biggest rivals in high school. In every single sport that I played. So a little bit of a rivalry there, but not quite. I don't go to Bryant. It's not what's it called? The Salt Bowl. It's not that. Okay. I'm cheering for you, Braylon. I am. But now I've said everything I want to say. There's 31 of you in here. Welcome in. If you have an Arkansas-related question, fire it on in. I want to repeat this. I am independent. I don't work for one of the big companies, 247, Rivals. Everything that I do is original. Obviously, I use, site reports, use other videos in my breakdown and credit them and all that stuff. But everything you see from me is based 90% on my own evaluation. So I appreciate that so many of you care. And I also appreciate the passion that you still have for a team that's probably not going to be that good this year. Okay. One thing I will say is Taylen Green still has, I believe, 2 years of eligibility left. Okay. While this might not be your year as an Arkansas fan, the thing that sucks is your schedule is brutal and all your winnable SEC games are on the road, right? All of them. All of them. If I were to pick the best SEC teams on Arkansas' schedule, I would say it's Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, and Texas. I think those are the 4 legitimate best teams on your schedule. Now, Auburn, A&M, Mississippi State, and Missouri aren't slouches. I thought Arkansas got screwed not getting to play Vanderbilt. I think every team in the SEC that got to play Vanderbilt should write a letter to the league office thanking them. Okay? That is huge that you don't get the Vanderbilt game. And you have a brutal week 2 game. Okay? So, this might not be your year. Because if you're on the underside of the SEC, you want to play your more winnable games at home. And this schedule will flip in 2025. So you're playing the exact same schedule for the conference, probably not in the same order, but the order flips. Okay. Let's go to HM. Why do people expect Arkansas to be so bad again? Even with marginal offensive improvement, 6 wins should be the floor. Okay. Very good comment. Very, very, very good comment. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put just Arkansas schedule on the screen. Okay. And if you say that 6 wins are the floor, then that means we need to find 6 wins here. Okay. Now, let me actually, this is one of my old Arkansas schedules. I'm gonna delete that. Let me pull up the actual Arkansas schedule with the dates. Okay. And we'll just do this exercise together. Okay. And we will be brutally honest about Arkansas' situation. Okay. Let's go here. Okay. That. Bang. That out. Let's just put this up. Appreciate you guys showing me love on the on my NFL channel. So we're gonna get to Nuck of Moose and Normac here in just a second. Okay. So let's fire this up. Here's Arkansas schedule. Okay. Now, if you say 6 wins are the floor, all right, if you're going to say floor, I need 3 of these wins to be certain wins. All right. 3 of these wins need to be certainty wins. Okay. UAPB is a guaranteed win. UAB is a guaranteed win. Okay. Trent Dilfer could be tricky, but UAB is a guaranteed victory. Okay. So, why do I say 3? Well, you have to do just some math here. Okay. How many of these games on Arkansas' schedule would you say, and to use a poker reference, 60-40, all right, where you have pocket queens, the opponent has ace king, okay, and those odds are 58-42, all right, either way. How many of those kinds of toss-up games would you say in that 58-42, 50-50 range? All right. Well, Oklahoma State, I would put in that category. Auburn, I would put in that category. Mississippi State, I would put in that category. I think Louisiana Tech could be sneaky, but that's probably a guaranteed win the more I think about it. So you do have 3 guaranteed wins, but now you have 3 58-42s, and all of those are on the road. Okay. All of them. And then you have these games that are more 70-30, right? Tennessee is going to be good this year. Sorry to break it to you. They are going to more than likely roll. A&M, I think, is a little undervalued. I do. That's probably a 58-42 now that we're spitballing this. And LSU is probably more of a 70-30, with LSU having the advantage. Texas is probably more of a 70-30, but Texas having the advantage. But you do get the bye weeks, and both of these teams play tricky games the week before. Okay? So 6 wins being the floor, to me, is a little high, if you ask me. All right? I really do think so. I really, really, really do. Okay? Now, if you guys don't mind, all right, please, I just want to show him some love because he's been rocking with me for years. He's got a kid now. I can't really get him on. But when I used to do radio, he was my Arkansas guy. Andrew Hutchinson, go give him a follow. NWA Hutch, one of my favorite Arkansas beat writers. I'm a huge fan of Best Arkansas Sports. Evan Demeril is a good friend of mine. You know, let's see here. Okay, this is one I wanted to bring up about Hutch. Okay. All right. And it is a very interesting point. All right, as far as the Oklahoma State game. This is what I was going to refer to. I kind of went blank there. So the FCS coaches poll went out. All right. UCA was number 13, but South Dakota State, that's why I love Hutch. He finds these random nuggets. Okay. South Dakota State is the preseason number 1 in the FCS, and they play Oklahoma State the week before. Okay. That is a winnable game for South Dakota State. Something else is Oklahoma State lost one of these types of games last year at the beginning of the year. Okay. Let's go. North Dakota slot guys. That is dope. Do you do slot content? Okay. Let's go to this. The team with the shoddy offense played Bama and LSU close on the road last year. Okay, let's talk about both these games. The Alabama game was a really good game. Arkansas, in many ways, outplayed them. You know, no knock on that. That was literally one of Arkansas's better games on the season. Obviously, Alabama was greatly aided by a really bad 3rd and 15 coverage bust. That was a wide open touchdown. Arkansas was in position to win that game, but knows happened. Lana Jackson went all. I mean, I'll give you that. That was definitely a great game. LSU game's a little bit different. First half of that game was the only bad half of football Jaden Daniels played the entire year for LSU. And LSU's defense was historically bad. It was their worst defense ever. So I do give a tip of the hat. KJ was great in both of those games. And I give you that. You played really well on the road last year. Okay. Both of these teams are going to be a little bit more well-rounded next year. I'm actually a little down on Bama, but they'll be better prepared in this game. But I am a little down on Bama, so you might be onto something. The difference, though, is you don't play Alabama this year. So the 1 year I'm down on them, you don't get them. You would prefer to not play them, though, because they're still going to be solid. He says, I look at Auburn, Mississippi State, TAMU, and Tennessee as more winnable than Bama and LSU last year. Auburn, yes, but man, they beat your asses last year. So if you're going to do we played these teams close, but not mention that Auburn blew you out, an Auburn team coming off a loss versus New Mexico State, then you see how that, you can't take too much from last year's game to this year's game. I do agree Mississippi State has a chance to be really bad this year as they are in a full rebuild. Once again, I'm a little bit higher on consensus with Texas A&M. A little bit. Secondary, really experienced. Best pass rushing end in the SEC is either Nick Scorton or Pierce at Tennessee. And I'm just a big Connor Wigman guy. I just am. And I understand that I'm a little worried with no Evan Stewart, but they still got some dudes. The Ruben Owens loss is something, but still, Tennessee's just good. They're just good. I'm way over market on Tennessee this year. And I keep going back. Arkansas is just missing a lot of these teams on their schedule that I think have bottom barrel chances of just completely falling off the earth. Okay. Let me go through a few of these teams that Arkansas doesn't play. Okay. They do not play Vanderbilt. Check. They do not play South Carolina with a new quarterback and an offensive coordinator you're familiar with. You don't get that game. You don't get Kentucky, who I think could tailspin this year. So it's not so much that you didn't get some winnable games. It's just you got more losable ones than winnable ones. And that's with Georgia and Alabama not being on the schedule. So you got that going for you. And you do have the two best teams on your schedule. You're getting a bye week before both of them. But it's still one of these things where, man, I would have loved to have seen Arkansas get a little bit more bottom barrel teams. Okay. Let's go to Normark here. He makes the same point I made. Okay. Yeah, Mississippi State game hurt. That one hurt. That there were no winners, only losers in that game. Huh? I do think Bobby raises the floor of this team. I went back and watched some of his A&M games, and unless a Bobby Sam relationship gets very sour, Bobby's going to raise the floor of this offense. As I've matured as a football film analyst, I have learned the value of the play caller. And I'm to the point now where if I'm doing like rankings of the single most important things your football team needs, the first thing you need is a quarterback, like whoever the current quarterback is. Okay. Probably, I mean, outside of the head coach is going to be your most important thing. But outside of a great, solid quarterback, the play caller is so important. It's more important than, I'd rather have an elite play caller than have, an elite offensive line, but a not so great play caller, if that makes sense. Because with the way run schemes are now, there are so many different play calls in the SEC that Lane calls, Bobby calls a lot of these, where you can work around bad offensive line play, especially not at the NFL level. NFL level, you can't really work around that. You really can't. You got to have something there. College, I think you can work around it. You just have got to play quick. Okay. You just do. And your play calling needs to be elite. So I think Bobby's sequencing is going to really, really, really help you guys out in a major way. You can go back and look at my film studies. And I'm always completely honest about this. I did not coach. The highest level of football I have played is high school. I've never, in an official capacity, been in any football room. Now, I've sat in on coaches' meetings and stuff like that, but, all the stuff I see are my best educated guesses. And you could see last year on the film studies I did for Arkansas, I was able to call out the plays. And, sometimes I had not watched the game prior because of other engagements. I would just turn the highlights on, record it, and get it out. And it was amazing how difficult some of the blocking calls were last year. And you're not really setting, your guys up for success. I think Bobby's going to do a lot better job of that. I really, really, really do think so. And you're going to need Carmona to pay off in a major way. You're going to need a lot of things to go your way. But I think Bobby does increase the floor. I do. Let's go to Casey. He says, I call it now. We win 10 games. All right. So, Casey, first thing I want to ask you to do is please pass me the blunt. because you might be in Paris right now on that Snoop Doggy Dizzle thinking that you're going to get to 10 wins this year. 10? 10? You really going to get to 10? Sure, Bobby's back. Bobby's back. But I don't see Greg Childs walking through that door. I don't see DJ Williams walking through that door. I don't see Jeremy Sprinkle. I will say though, okay, if you and I'll do. I was going to say this for next Monday show at 5. I'm going to give you one player that I am higher on consensus for Arkansas, and it's partially because he's kind of boring, okay, and he's a transfer from Utah. But Jaquindon Jackson's tape is good. He is good. I don't know if he's NFL good because he doesn't really have juice, but there's going to be times this year where you watch Jaquindon Jackson and you think he is Jonathan Williams. They are very similar profiles. And he's going to be good. He's going to be really, really, really good. Obviously, the run blocking is going to be good, but it needs to be good. But the sequencing of the run game, along with Taylen's running ability, it's he doesn't need much to get you 6, 7, cut 20 here. Now, he's not a home run hitter. He's not Felix or McFadden or even Jonathan Williams or Alex Collins when it comes to burst, but he's just good. Okay, this is a guy, former QB. And lost close teammates while he was at Utah. Dude is about business. So, Jaquindon Jackson, I'm a little more bullish on. I'm also a little bit more bullish on Andrew Armstrong just being the guy. I understand, Broden has made some good plays. Satania has picked it up. I think Armstrong's a pro. I do. I think he'll be like, I think his floor is like Matt Landers. Just a really, really, really nice player. And then obviously the Arkansas tight end room is really good. It's probably the best in the SEC. And defensively, I shared earlier my love for the defensive line. I think this back seven could be total ass. All right. I am going through this now as an LSU YouTuber. Okay. LSU is returning multiple guys that have played a lot of football, have started the last 2 seasons, okay? And they're still there because they're not quite pro material, all right? So you have this dichotomy of, do you want the experience or do you want youthful upside? And you got to really hope that Jaden Johnson, who Sam Pittman talked up recently, and Hudson Clark are actually really good players. Okay. I don't know. I'll let you decide. I think Jaden Johnson, I think his PFF grade's a little harsh. Okay. I think it's a little harsh. I think Hudson Clark on the EA college football game. I need to play it again. I've not played him forever. They made this dude like Tyrann Mathieu on that game. But I do worry about Arkansas's back seven. I do. I like the defensive line. I don't love it, but still. Okay. Let's see here. All right. My mother's calling me. You want me to pick up Mama's phone call? I will. I got some good news today as well. I'll let you know. I was like, there's just some football players that you freaking like. Okay. Luke Kuechly has always just been Played at Boston College and obviously the Carolina Panthers. I think he's so viscerally underrated. Like, when I look at, like, the modern era linebackers, really only Ray Lewis is the only guy that could put ahead of him. Like, I would – I don't know. I'm a big Patrick Willis guy as well. I think a lot of you are. I'm familiar with him. But Luke Kuechly will be broadcasting some CBS games this year. I prefer him on the NFL because I'm still a big NFL guy. But, Luke Kuechly was him. He was Timothy Chalamet. Casey says he stands on business. But yeah, Satania could have a big year. He goes to a single-digit number. You guys know I'm a stickler. If you go to a single-digit number, you better make plays. If not, take it off. Take it off. Don't wear it. Don't wear it. It drives you crazy. The guy wearing jersey number 1 should be a mother effing dude, right? Like Jared Cornelius, wore number 1. You've got to be a dude. You've got to be a dude. Okay. And I think it's Jaden Wilson that got number 1. Okay, Jaden. You're Uno now, baby. Go out there and make some Uno plays, bro. You can't be rocking the aesthetic. Keon Stewart also wears number 1. Show me what you're working with. All right, we'll take a few more before we skedaddle. If you have a question, go ahead and fire it in. If you want to super chat and help me, hit that money symbol, Venmo, Cash App at Carter the Power. I did get a Venmo recently from one of my film studies. I want to shout him out. Keith Stewart, if you're watching this right now, let me know, bro. One thing that always drives me crazy is like Venmo. They have like a social media feed. Like, why did I ever need a social media feed for everyone else's transactions? That has never made sense to me. Okay. My friend Ross just paid some guy named Jeffrey. Never heard of Jeffrey in my life. And he just wrote on there, kayak. Why do I give a damn about their kayaking adventures? Why? Okay. I give not a flying you-know-what about your kayaking adventure, Ross. Okay. Let's see. Jordan paid Alex for Geico. That doesn't sound like I don't think your insurance should be paid over Venmo. Okay. Kaylin paid Maddie for a Rachel wedding unit gift. I mean, this is just lame. How lame is a society? Kim paid Allie for tacos. It's just a shame. It's a shame how far we've fallen. What happened to good old-fashioned cash? Okay? What happened to the good old days? Okay. I totally agree with this, Ty, and he's pointing out Missouri's schedule. I don't know how Missouri got away with the schedule that they were able to get away with. Okay? If I was a consultant for Arkansas, all right, and I've talked about this at length, all right, and I will continue to barrel this talking point. And I know a lot of people say it's like they say something that is unpopular, but it really isn't that unpopular. This take I'm about to give is so unpopular in college football, but I really, really, really care less about winning as much as other people do. Okay, because winning lacks context, especially in a sport where your schedule is everything. College football, out of all the sports that we play that a lot of people care about, they play by far the fewest amount of games. And not only do they play by far the fewest amount of games, every game really freaking matters, whether it comes to bowl eligibility, playoff eligibility, so on and so on and so on. So if you're in a conference where everybody is held equal and there's 16 teams and they all hold equal equity in the conference, why is there not more equity in the schedules? Okay. So, I've gotten a few messages from Kentucky fans. Why have I been so critical of Mark Stoops in Kentucky? It's because they have bull rushed other SEC teams with scheduling soft, right? They have scheduled softer than soft, the softest schedules ever. And we view Kentucky as this unbelievably thorough winning program when they're not. And we view Arkansas as this perennially losing program. And really, outside of the Morris years, when was Arkansas just downright ass? Like a lot of you have, pointed out, at least Arkansas played in close games last year. But we view Mark Stoops as this amazing coach at Kentucky, and Arkansas has a program that's like not good by any stretch of the imagination. They're bad, but it's not awful. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Arkansas is just awful. So, I'm glad that you pointed that out, Ty, because you look at Missouri's schedule. It is by far the easiest in the SEC, by far. The first 4 games of the season, by far the easiest first 4 games. The next 4 games of the season, also relatively easy, if you ask me. A&M after a bye, I'll take that all day. Also, keep in mind, Texas A&M the week before plays you, okay? And, the thing about that is that'll be A&M's 5th game in a row. Actually, their 6th game in a row. Missouri's going to have maximum rest going into that game and 2 weeks to prepare. Yeah, the Alabama game doesn't fall right for them, but the Oklahoma game does at home. Missouri has a pretty clear path to 10-2, and it's going to be hard for them to not be at least 9-3. If Arkansas had the schedule that Missouri had this year, okay, they're winning the first 4 games. Missouri has more guaranteed wins in their first 4 games than Arkansas has on their entire schedule. Okay. And, Arkansas bye week before A&M, that becomes a more 50-50 game. Arkansas getting Auburn at home, that's a more winnable game. They get their ass kicked by Alabama. Then, bye week, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and then, of course, you can't play yourself. Let's just say Arkansas plays Missouri that last week. These are 3 winnable games at the end, okay? So, I'm glad you brought that up, Ty. But I'll be honest, as Bryce points out, most people view losses as a loss. I hate that. I understand it should be Vince Lombardi. Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. That's not how life works to me. It's just not. It is far more complex, especially college football. And it is crazy with all this data, scheduling data, and nuance, and freedom of expression, that we can't acknowledge that the schedule inequities in the sport are massive. We don't care about it as much in college baseball because, well, college baseball is very random, and there's a pretty big postseason tournament at the end of the year. Okay, so you have a pretty wide net of getting into that. Same thing is true in college basketball. We don't care so much about it in the NFL either. It is a thing in the NFL, but everybody's kind of equal in the NFL in many ways. College football, it's not that. There's huge inequities, no salary caps, 12-game seasons. And I understand I'm coming off like defensive of Sam Pittman. There's nobody that does Arkansas content on the regular that has been more critical of Sam Pittman than me. I am unabashed in how much I disagreed with Arkansas retaining Sam Pittman. And I know I'm not the only one. But I will defend his ass in many ways because Arkansas is near impossible to win in the current SEC climate. Okay, still getting brutal schedule draws. This one's not the absolute worst this year because you don't have Alabama and Georgia on it, but it's still tough. So really, really, really tough. And it's always been tough. And the fact that you had the 8-4. I mean, hell, you beat Penn State a few years ago. That was huge, right? There's not many coaches that could have pulled that off. So it's not that I think Sam is just terrible. It's just I just think he's past his due. So I'm wishing Sam nothing but the best this year. And I hate the way that we talk about Mark Stoops and we don't talk about Sam Pittman in the same way. Now, I hate it. I really, really, really do. Because if Kentucky played Arkansas' schedule, their records would be very similar. They would be. Okay. But that's good. That's bad. That's going to do it for me. I thought I was only going to go 30, but you guys really pushed this. So type Y for yes, type N for no. Okay. Do you like Mondays at 5 p.m.? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm getting so freaking excited, man. I'm going to Vegas for the season opener for the LSU game. I love Vegas. So, Mr. Blondline. Yeah, Chase, I hope the same, man. Good to hear from you, bro. But also in the comment section below, and I am open. This is what I want this to be. I am not an Arkansas fan. I'm very open about that. You can figure that out pretty quickly. I do care about the program. My best man in my wedding is a huge car dealership manager in Central Arkansas. Another one of my groomsmen in my wedding was is a dentist in Arkansas. My other really good friend, dentist in Arkansas. People in the Arkansas school district, friends that work at Walmart and all that stuff. I have heavy ties, and I loved when this team was good, and I would do anything other than my team succumbing to Arkansas. I would love to see you guys come back to prominence. I really, really, really would. Okay. Yeah, and that's what I want it to be. I like it. I also have a journalism degree, and when I do content for like teams that I actually like, I'm objective in my analysis as well, but it is a little bit different, right? Because it is a little bit more painful to say something negative. It's just how it is. Anyone that tells you the otherwise are just lying or they're not real. They're a robot. They're AI. Huh? But Arkansas, obviously, I want Arkansas to do well. I do because it makes you happy. When the team plays well, it makes everyone money too. But it is a little bit easier. It is a little bit easier to be critical. Even though I have friends on staff, I have friends that have coached there, I have friends that play there, I have friends that coach and played in the NFL. So it makes it tough as you grow older in the industry and you have different friends and stuff like that. I have a friend on Alabama staff, and I was like, I'm never talking to you again. Huh? But yeah. Now, next Monday, we will do some type of giveaway. I think I've given out all my Traylon Burks cards, but I'll go see if I have another one that I could give out for next Monday. I'm a big Traylon Burks fan, and he's making me look bad on my NFL channel, y'all, because I was telling people one of my worst NFL draft takes. I wanted my New Orleans Saints to take Treylon Burks over Chris Olave, and boy was I wrong. Boy. But Burks, new life, new OC. DeAndre Hopkins, a little banged up right now. Does this open the door for him? He was a year 3 guy. We're talking about age. Maybe he's more mature now and his route running has gotten better. Hell, you got freaking Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins as your freaking mentors. Like, you can't really ask for more than that when it comes to route running mentors. So there you go. Like, I'm serious. Like, I thought Treylon Burks was going to be the real freaking deal. And I thought it was going to be another situation, because obviously Justin Jefferson, I like 10 times more than Treylon Burks, but I thought it was going to be the same thing. The Vikings lost Stephon Diggs, and bam, they get Justin Jefferson. Now, they got lucky. There's no way they could have known that Justin Jefferson was going to be one of the best receivers we've ever seen. I really thought A.J. Brown to Treylon Burks was going to be the same thing. They're the same exact comp, same size, same speed, but route running matters. Being an alpha matters. Okay. But, it's dude, Treylon Burks in college was a religious experience. Okay, like some of my LSU guys are flying in here, so that means I've got to go. They don't like the red backdrop. Normally it's purple, but I mix it up. I'm not going to do any show with the purple backdrop. Or what I could do is turn full heel. I could just do full LSU stuff like how I normally do it, but I think that would be a little too much in your face. Yeah, I'm not joshing you. I do think Bobby's going to be really good this year. I do. Now, does he have the horses? I don't know. The less LSU, the better. Oh, Ty. I know you're new to the channel. LSU football is my life. There's no sense in hiding it. I'm a believer in being yourself. Now, I'm not going to be decked out in LSU gear on here, maybe ever, unless I'm just in like an absolute rush. But I changed the background and all that stuff. The Burrow painting stays though. I can't do anything about that. That's just not. That's deity. If you had to do an LSU show and you had a Darren McFadden photo or Ryan Mallett or some legend back there, I wouldn't want you to take it down. One more thing. Okay. I am probably going to the LSU Arkansas game this year. Okay. Let's put this back up on the schedule. All right. And a lot of my LSU folks are going to the game on October 19th. Okay. So that's LSU schedule. Freudian slip there. Same thing. October 19th. DWR, Fayetteville. Probably my favorite SEC city, taking out my home city of Baton Rouge. Would you guys like to do a meetup for the LSU Arkansas game? Comment below. I could set something up, call some business, and we can work something out. We can hang out on Friday. And, those are the two biggest fan bases. I was on a phone call with one of my LSU sources earlier today, and he was like, yeah, I see you do Arkansas stuff too. And I was like, I'm telling you, my objectivity in full set, because obviously, LSU, but the two best fan bases for me in the SEC are Arkansas and Tennessee. Love Arkansas and Tennessee fans. Love them. Okay. So appreciate you, Bryce. You got a great last name too, Bryce. I like that. You share it with Kobe. I got to do the thumbs up. You share it with Kobe. You also share it with the greatest college football coach of all time from Fordyce. You guys know who that is. It's the other great Bryants. Got Chris Bryant. Bryants, man. Let's go, Dez. Throw out the X. Never was the biggest Dez fan. And by the way, F Dez Bryant. Because he's Oklahoma State. He's hog bait. It's week 2, baby. I will say I have had quite a few friends play randomly at Oklahoma State. Three really good friends. All from Arkansas, ironically. But yeah, you got to beat the Fighting Barry Sanders, baby. I was born in Louisiana and I learned better. Oh, Ty. So you can have your own opinion on that, but I hope you were born before 94 because you would have not witnessed any meaningful national championship. Okay. I would guess you were born before 94. I hope it was way before so you can actually enjoy the most underrated SEC coach in the modern era, which is Nolan Richardson. I truly do believe that. Not like hyperbolizing that at all. Like, could you imagine how miserable it would be to be an Arkansas fan if Nolan Richardson didn't exist? No real natty since 64. Okay. Nolan is still underrated in the grand scheme of things. And his Hall of Fame speech is still the best basketball Hall of Fame speech. The Larry Bird story will live forever. But he's also an angel. Like I met him once and I was like, that's awesome. I will one day tell how I met Nolan Richardson many, many years ago. Okay. So just for a teaser, and the first person to bring this up on next Monday's live stream will win something Arkansas related. Remind me to share with you my favorite Arkansas athlete of all time. My favorite Razorback of all time. Okay? By far my favorite. Okay? And here's a hint. He is still current. All right? Still current. That'll be on next week's show. We'll talk to you soon, okay? It is Power Hour SEC. Boom. If you enjoyed this live stream, shoot me a message on Twitter or Instagram. That is it right there at Carter the Power. And tonight, that's why my mom was calling. She made spaghetti and meatballs today. Let's go. Let's go.